Today I'll be talking about the boss fights in God of War Ghost of Sparta. The first boss is Scylla, the giant green ocean monster. She starts the fight unleashing her tentacles, slamming two on the ground in front of her, and a third sweeping the ground, before Scylla moves to a default position where her head can be attacked, before either using her tentacles again or slamming her palm on the ground. Both can be blocked, but the palm strike staggers Kratos. If Scylla does manage to hurt you with her hand, she screams, creating a shockwave preventing you from reaching her. It doesn't hurt you though, it's just annoying. After attacking Scylla enough, she recoils, releasing red and green orbs. When this happens a second time, Scylla will retreat and reposition herself to the left, where she releases 3 Scylla broods onto the field while she occasionally bites around. Once you beat this phase, she releases 4 more Scylla broods and moves back to her previous position, jumping forward, hurting you if she lands on you, and screaming, knocking you to the far end of the area, before she returns to attacking the way she did in her first phase. After beating this phase, Scylla collapses, where you do what the tutorial says: double jump to the wheel, spin the wheel, and do the quick time event to beat the boss. If you don't do it in time, Scylla sinks into the ocean before returning to start the third phase of the fight again, and if you try to use the wheel again, she'll smack you down to the floor. When you do it right, the wheel pulls a large hook onto her face, allowing you to activate the quick time event where Kratos hooks onto Scylla's jaw before she tosses him into the air. Kratos uses his blades to cling to the side of Scylla's face and climbs up to stab one of her eyes out. Kratos then swings around the rope tied to the hook so he's above Scylla's head, where he cuts the rope and then grabs the hook with his chains and falls to the ground, pulling on the hook, ripping it out of Scylla's jaw, where she sinks into the water and runs away, so she can periodically reappear throughout the game until she eventually dies in a volcano. The second boss is Callisto, a horrific monster with a sad backstory that I won't spoil here. Her 2 main attacks are lifting and slamming her enlarged left arm on top of Kratos and backhanding Kratos like a disobedient child. That joke will make sense later. Her most important attack is when she charges at Kratos. You can't block or parry it, and if you get hit by it, she grabs you and shoves you against a wall and starts biting you until you die, or until you break out of it and start fighting back, pinning her head against the wall as you punch and slam it into the wall until she picks you up so Kratos can strike her with his blades with a button prompt. Kratos then uses his blades to stab into Callisto and throws her away, slumping on the floor as she releases green orbs. If you move towards her larger hand as she charges at you, she can instead pick Kratos up in her large hand and throw him into a wall instead. I don't know why you would want to do this. Yeah, getting thrown around doesn't hurt much, if at all, but dodging is still objectively better, so just do that. When she misses you, she'll charge until she smacks her head into a wall, at which point she'll just get back up and fight you again. The reason this is her most important attack is because if she never hits you with it, the boss doesn't end. Once you've hit her enough, you need to let her charge you. There isn't any real indication of when she's reached this point, but you'll know when you're done if when Kratos throws her to the ground, she releases red orbs along with the green, is surrounded by blood, and doesn't get back up again. Callisto stays in this spot until Kratos finishes her off with a circle move, which again, if you know her backstory, is very, very sad. The third boss is Erinyes, the daughter of Thanatos that you've seen from a distance a few times while traversing the mountains of Arawania. And I have to age restrict this video. Her standard attack has her dash forward swiping at Kratos. It can be blocked and parried, but it's fast and Erinyes attacks repeatedly one after the other, never stopping unless you make her. She can defend herself by parrying Kratos' attacks and fires a magical void at him, knocking him to the floor so Erinyes can get a free hit on him. Blocking it staggers Kratos, and Kratos can parry the void back at Erinyes, doing nothing to her, but at least you're not getting hit. Don't ask me how he parries a non-material substance. Erinyes can also fly into the air and summon a set of 3 ravens to fight Kratos with her. It's my least favourite ability of hers, because the ravens can attack one after the other, stun-locking Kratos and running interference for Erinyes. They can still be killed like normal ravens, returning the fight to status quo, at least until she summons them again. Her final attack has her hover in the air and create a large void in front of her, pulling Kratos into it, doing continuous damage to him if he gets pulled in. You need to evade roll away from it until Erinys deactivates it. After fighting her enough, she will fall to her knees with a circle icon above her head. Kratos slams her to the ground and rips off her right wing for some red and green orbs, as she crawls away and gets to her feet and starts attacking again with the same attacks as before, because changing tactics is for pathetic mortals. When she falls to her knees again, Kratos repeats the process on her final wing, but Erinys grows her wings back, why not do that when you lost the first one, and flies off to transform into a giant bird to swoop at Kratos with her talons. Kratos has a quick time event to sidestep her and stab his blades into her as she flies past, where he pulls on the chains as she kicks at him until he flips her to the ground with her getting stuck there. You need Thera's Bane or magic to hurt her until she manages to fly away and smash the bridge that Kratos is on. The next part has him sliding down slopes and some QTEs of Kratos jumping and clinging to Erinys as she flies past, until she flies up as he scales her back, losing his grip as she dives down. As Kratos free falls behind her, Erinys creates clouds that cover half the screen at different angles to slow Kratos down. She's just delaying the inevitable at this point, and with Kratos being able to avoid the clouds and holding X to dive down faster, he reaches Erinys and pulls himself onto her back and stabs her with Thera's Bane until she knocks him off again, where they repeat the process. Kratos eventually hurts her enough to send her crashing into the ground, returning her to her humanoid form. At this point, Kratos just needs to walk up to her. She'll fire a void at Kratos every now and again, but you know how to deal with those at this point. Once he reaches her, he activates a QTE, cutting off her arm and her wings, before charging Thera's Bane and stabbing her through the back to kill Erinys, and stealing her magic weapon from the ground to rub salt in the wound. Personally, I consider this to be the first real boss of the game, since most of the others feel more like mini-bosses rather than real proper bosses. The fourth boss happens after this heretic releases the Piraeus lion, because the Nemean lion was ignoring Danajan's calls. It has 4 moves. One has it swipe at Kratos horizontally with its right paw. Its second has it raise its body up and dropping it to slam its left paw at Kratos. Its third attack has it back away first before running forward, lifting itself up and pouncing on Kratos for a QTE where it bites at a pinned down Kratos, where he has to kick the lion off before he dies. This move can't be blocked or parried. Its fourth move has it back away and roar, leaving Kratos stunned in another QTE he has to escape before the lion follows up with his pouncing QTE attack. This is the perfect example of how mid-bossy the bosses feel. Aside from having 2 QTE attacks, there's nothing interesting about it, and the worst part is it's just too easy. It's literally just a normal enemy, but bigger. Anyway, when you reach the end of the fight and get the circle icon, Kratos stabs its shoulder as the lion pulls away. Kratos pulls himself onto its shoulder, digging his other blade in as well before jumping up in front of the lion and slicing through the lion's torso as he falls, leaving its intestines sprawled out on the floor. And that was the lamest boss fight in the game. Now go stab the loser who put you through this. The fifth boss is Deimos, the man Kratos has been looking for throughout most of the game. He's not very happy. His first attack has him jump at Kratos, slamming his gauntlet into the ground. This move is unparryable and must be evaded. His second attack has him simply swing his fist at Kratos. Deimos can block attacks, and if Kratos attacks him when he does, Deimos knocks him back and charges forward, punching Kratos. I think this is the only attack in the game that Kratos can block, but he can't parry. Deimos can also evade, rolling to the side and brushing up a spray of dust. If Kratos can't evade it, he'll be stunned in a QTE he needs to escape from before Deimos attacks. Deimos can even use the Hyperion charge like Kratos, being able to tackle him to the ground and smash his head into the ground until Kratos uses a QTE to flip Deimos to the ground himself, taking turns like this until either Deimos kills him or Kratos hurts him enough to get kicked off. Funnily enough, Kratos can use this against Deimos, Hyperion charging Deimos first so he doesn't get the first hit in. Even if Deimos does charge first, if Kratos charges back, Kratos will always win. This is how you know Kratos was born first. After fighting him for a while, Deimos will release a bunch of green and blue orbs. Once this happens, he will respond by swinging his gauntlet 4 times as he walks towards Kratos, knocking him back with the last strike. Even if you parry it midway, he'll still continue his attack combo until he's done. Once you get him to this point 5 times, Deimos will end the fight by tackling Kratos, must run in the family, and pushes both of them off a balcony and down a cliff, almost immediately entering the final boss of the game, Thanatos, god of death and father of Erinys, the woman you killed 2 bosses ago. Understandably, he wants you dead. On the plus side, after saving him from falling off a cliff, Deimos is going to help him, with Kratos giving him the arms of Sparta to do so. During the fight, a meter will be at the bottom left of the screen, and when it's full, Deimos can throw his javelin at Thanatos to do damage, as well as stun him out of his attacks. But enough about him, back to the goth boy. He holds a sword in a reverse grip, and slams it down, making an explosion, staggering Kratos if he tries to block it. While you're fighting Thanatos, he can fly to a corner of the arena, stab his sword into the ground, and flicks it out, creating a row of pillars you must evade. After fighting for a bit, he releases red and green orbs before flying up to a cliff, before jumping down and creating a flash of light to blind Kratos. After breaking out of it, Thanatos will be clashing with Deimos with a circle prompt above them. If you do nothing, Thanatos will slam Deimos to the ground and continue to fight Kratos. If you do engage with it, Kratos jumps on Thanatos' back, giving Deimos the chance to shield smack Thanatos, giving red and blue orbs and continuing the fight. Fight him more and he'll fly up and jump down, blinding Kratos again, but this time he grabs Kratos and slams him to the ground, before pulling him back up and begins choking him. Kratos gets Deimos to hurl a spear at Thanatos, knocking him back, giving Kratos time to leap at Thanatos using his blades to throw him to Deimos, who forces Thanatos to the edge of the cliff with his spear, with Kratos knocking Thanatos off, giving all the orb types, and Thanatos rising up in the form of a giant demon, knocking Kratos down as it lands, starting the second boss phase. He fires voids from his mouth at Kratos, staggering him when he blocks them, leaving him vulnerable to a follow-up void attack. If you get too close to him, Thanatos swings his left arm across the ground, smacking Kratos back. To make him vulnerable, you need to parry the void back at Thanatos to stun him. Or you can get Deimos to throw a spear while he charges a void, producing the same effect. You attack his arm using Thera's Bane, giving red and green orbs each time you break some of it off, until eventually all the armor is gone and you can attack him normally. After this happens, he'll eventually turn back into his original form for the third phase of the boss fight. Thanatos now attacks with a 4-attack combo. He flies at Kratos and stomps down before swinging his sword backhanded horizontally, then flipping the sword to a normal position to swing it back. The final strike has Thanatos jump up and slam the sword two-handedly onto the ground, making an explosion. The 2 sword strikes can be parried, but the leaping attacks have to be evaded. He keeps the energy pillar attack from his first phase, and he still uses the blinding cliff jump move as well as the circle command for when he clashes with Deimos. Kratos' circle move starts off the same, but after Deimos throws his spear at Thanatos, Kratos grabs Thanatos' hair and headbutts him, before grabbing his sword and stabbing it through his chest, giving red and blue orbs before Thanatos rips it out. Like the first phase of the boss, the third time he flies to the cliff, he'll fly away and turn into a giant demon again. Just watch where you are when he drops down. It works the same way it did last time, but the armor from its arm is still gone, and it has a new attack. When you hurt it enough, it punches the ground, making a shockwave Kratos must jump over. At the end of this phase, Thanatos will stay in his stunned position for a circle command. Kratos uses his chains to pull Thanatos into position for Deimos to throw a spear at him. Thanatos tries to grab Deimos, but Kratos gets in the way, getting smashed into a wall and the ground for his trouble. Deimos throws a spear at Thanatos, but it does nothing, and he continues to thrash Kratos. So Deimos decides to run at Thanatos, rushing spear first into his eye, getting Thanatos' attention, but then Thanatos grabs Deimos and starts slamming him into walls instead. The problem is Deimos isn't as durable as Kratos, and Deimos dies from this. Seeing this enrages Kratos, and as Thanatos begins to set his eyes on Kratos again, the flames from Thera's Bane radiate from Kratos' body, as they both prepare for the last phase of the boss. Thera's Bane is always active now, and Kratos can't be knocked down anymore. Thanatos doesn't fire voids anymore, only using his fist punch and his arm swipe moves. Just wail on Thanatos until he collapses and slowly smash open his face piece by piece, until a circle command appears to force him back into his humanoid form. At this point it just becomes a pattern of Thanatos trash-talking Kratos, followed by Kratos tossing him around like a ragdoll until he eventually kills him. And that is all 6 bosses from God of War Ghost of Sparta. Surprised this is the first Ghost of Sparta video I finished. I figured it would be enemy types. I'll do a quick review as the rest of the scene plays out. I think the bosses in this game are pretty underwhelming. Scylla gets a pass since she was the first boss, so the standards are pretty low. Callisto was lame as a boss, but had emotional stakes and plot relevancy on her side. Erinyes was actually pretty good, with her attack variety and the changing environments, and getting her magic afterward as a reward. Best boss in the game. No notes. The Piraeus Lion, by contrast, is the worst boss in the game. Fighting it feels pointless, and plot-wise it just feels shoehorned in. Deimos is pretty alright as well. Good moveset, plot relevance, you understand why Deimos is so angry with Kratos. Solid second best next to Erinyes. While the ally feature of Thanatos was cool, ultimately it was just 2 different boss phases repeating with slight variations, and I want more than that from a final boss fight. At least he makes a cool explosion at the end. I only did this little review so I could stall for time so you could see the explosion at the end of Thanatos' boss fight. You're welcome. Goodbye.